Alright, my little journey with Ev Diag, Evinrude diagnostic software, figuring out the problem with this 2015 lecture start tiller Evinrude. Bought the software off of eBay, about 150 bucks. It's a cord and a program for your computer. That all worked fine. When I plugged into my port here, this is the diagnostic port, I wasn't able to connect to the EMM because I needed power to the EMM first. That came out of the plug here, and you can see you got a purple wire on top here and a black wire across from it. So I just jumped positive to the purple wire and negative to the black wire. I did that simply by setting in a couple wires, alligator clips, hooking it to a battery. Being careful that we don't get anything to crosswire here. Right now I just kind of got it flopped here, but that worked. Powered up the EMM, the lights came on top, and then the software recognized it. Now in my particular case, I ran through everything in the software, and it showed a check crankshaft position sensor. I had a red flag on that on the diagnostic monitor page. And that was just due to the fact that the engine wasn't running. It took me a little while to figure that out. I thought maybe there's a problem here with the crank position sensor, but as soon as you crank the engine, you'd show RPM and that light would go green. So that one wasn't the problem. I ran around every other diagnostic in this one, and I still wasn't able to start my engine. This engine was dunked in fresh water. It ran for a little bit, and then I went through and redid the whole fuel system. I unplugged here and drained the tank, dried that out with a rag, and then pumped fresh fuel all the way up through here with a squeeze bulb. I opened the top of this, drained this out. There was no water in there. Pulled the oil tank off, dumped that. When you do that, make sure you keep track of where these hoses go, because you're going to be unplugging those by pushing down the little tab and lifting up on those hoses to get them out of the fuel or the oil pump. So I got all the oil drained, all the fuel drained, all the water out of that, and it still wouldn't start. And there are no codes showing up on the EMM in the diagnostic software, except for that check the crank position one, and that one was one that wasn't a problem. So what it ended up being is, when I was plugged into power here, I actually saw a little smoke and coming off the lower ignition module here. So I got it unplugged now, but this had gotten some water in it during the dunk. It had shorted out. When you put power to the system, it just gets hot and it's smoked. And it was a funny thing, because with it plugged in, it still showed okay on the software. It wasn't flagging it. When you unplug it, it says it's open, which is true, but the engine would actually run on one cylinder then off the other ignition module here when this is unplugged, but it will not run at all with it plugged in. So it would just crank and crank and crank. You unplug it, and it would fire and run on one cylinder. So kind of a strange one there. When one of these goes out, it kind of kills the ignition on both, but it doesn't flag it in the computer. So if you run into a problem where you're cranking, won't start, won't fire, and everything checks in the EMM software, then look for that.